These draft prospects could be big risers if they have breakout seasons. Maybe these guys are flying under the radar because of injury, a lack of production, a lack of playing time, or maybe just playing for lesser competition. But we're going to talk about those guys today. And what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. At the end of this week, I'm actually going to have a top 150 big board for the 2024 NFL draft, and I'll also make my Google spreadsheet where I have all my evals of these prospects available for y'all if you want that. So yeah, it's gonna be a jam-packed week, but let's go ahead and get into this sucker, starting with McKinley Jackson out of Texas A&M. And largely, let's just kind of go over why he's an underrated prospect. I think that's a safe place to start, but he's 6'2", 325. You look at that, you're like, oh, nose tackle, okay. This guy's kind of played everywhere on the line. But why he's looked at as someone who still needs to kind of break out, he hasn't eclipsed over 400 snaps in a season. So there might be durability concerns. And on top of that, I'll say this, the physical and athletic tools are pretty impressive. But his production needs to catch up with that. He only has 41 pressures and 4 sacks through his career. He's coming into year 4 here for the Aggies. He was former 4-star out of the 2020 class. He really didn't become, he had 1 start his freshman year, but he hasn't been like a consistent starter. Like he had 4 starts in 2021, 7 starts last year. To be fair, he missed 4 games due to injury. But when you've seen this guy on the field, and why I have a 3rd round grade on him is, well, because I'm doing a little projection. But for a 325 freaking pounder, he moves so well. Really, he moves like a man 40 pounds lighter. And to be fair, you look at his build, and it's like, I don't really think he's that big. Maybe he's just carrying it exceptionally well, but regardless, for a big man, he accelerates just stupid well. He explodes off the snap. He displays very good closing speed. He combines his explosive first step with just good leverage at that 6'2". You're a little stouter, very powerful hands. His hips are much more flexible than you expect. They've kicked this guy out on the outside. And like, not the most bendy guy, but bendy at that size. It's kind of ridiculous. And you just see from the athleticism to the explosiveness to the power, the strength profile, the size, and it's like, ooh, a very alluring prospect. And like, he actually has a few finesse moves to him too, in terms of being a pass rusher. It's just, man, he really needs to catch up to where. He just needs to catch up to where his athletic and physical profile is. Has a good run anchor, good anchor in general. He does a great job of controlling the point of attack. So he's not like one of these penetrators that plays much lighter than his size. I think he plays exceptionally well. Though I did notice that sometimes he will get neutralized by double teams, just because I don't feel like he's that creative with his hand usage. But all in all, man, I walked away. I was like, oh man, this cat can definitely have a big year. Keep in mind, these are breakout candidates. So the production might not be there for some of them. All right, going to my number 2 on the list here. I have A.D. Mitchell. That's right. Some people lost their mind because I didn't have him in my top 15 wide receivers. And a large part of that is just because of the lack of production right now. But I get it. I get why people love this cat. 6'4", 196. He had 12 starts his freshman year for Georgia, and then he missed 9 games last season, I believe, because of a high ankle sprain. Did start 3, and to be fair, his playoff games were mighty darn impressive. And yeah, like, he transfers at the end of the year. He goes to Texas, where they're kind of already, they got good receivers. Like, I don't know where like the volume's going to go. They got Worthy, they got Sanders. If you remember from last year, they have Isaiah Nayer, who was injured before the season. So like there's going to be a lot of guys. Winnington, there's a lot of guys competing for snaps there. So it's going to be very interesting. But he's tall, huge catch radius. Get why people love him. Quick feet, gets moving in a hurry. He can flat out fly by guys. It's not surprising. Like Georgia, when he came back, they mainly used him as a vertical threat. To be fair, this is kind of pulling from a 3-game sample size, I believe. 6-game, my bad. 6-game sample size. Just 3 starts though. Does a good job of getting off on press with his hands. Like I like the shimmy. I like the shake at the line of scrimmage. He runs low as a route runner. He does a good job of keeping himself clean throughout the route. Smooth out of his breaks. Accelerates well. And just overall crisp route runner. And displays good vertical ability. Can go up and get the football. Does a good job of high pointing the ball as well. But the lack of production, kind of the biggest Achilles heel, just kind of makes him a total projection at this point. Did see volume, a considerable amount of volume his freshman year, but he also demonstrated a 17.1 drop rate. So maybe we get a fair assessment of his hands this season. Probably should put on muscle because I don't think he always takes contact well throughout the route. He does got a good job of keeping himself clean, but when he's unable to, sometimes. And to be fair, I don't know if he will offer too much as an after the catch guy or after contact guy. But regardless, man, AD Mitchell's definitely someone you need to watch out for in this class. A lot of people are really high on this cat. Next, at the linebacker position, I have Justin FLOWE. We were talking about this guy last year. This is someone who has been pumped up, and unfortunately, like injuries kind of played a big part in his career thus far. He's a former 5-star recruit out of the 2020 class, coming in at 6'2", 220 pounds. He was originally at Oregon. He played in 1 game his freshman season before missing the rest of the year with a torn meniscus. Then in 2021, he played 65 snaps in the season opener against Fresno, but sustained a foot injury that resulted in him missing the rest of the season. So coming into 2022, he legitimately has like all of 2 full games of playing time. He did play in 10 games with 2 starts and didn't really get a chance to crack the starting lineup there, and ends up transferring. Now is here at U of A. He's at Arizona, and I understand why people like him because he checks a lot of boxes athletically and physically, especially from the small sample size. Like I think last year I was pulling from his high school, like looking at some of his high school stuff just to get a kind of a why is this guy so hyped up? You know, and he's explosive. He's just a twitched up athlete. He shows actually really good full body strength and imposes his physicality especially on smaller ball carriers. He has the length and the speed to make it hard for quarterbacks in the passing game to clog those passing lanes. And I mean, just again, being such a good athlete, you have the range to play underneath, play over the top and stuff. He plays much bigger than his actual size, plays with a hot motor, a full tank. And has a good nose for the football. Typically, he's kind of a full projection. Doesn't like from what we saw last year. Doesn't really have a good feel for coverage. I guess that's the best way to put it. Good feel for coverage. He is a little stiff in the lower body, so I don't think he's ideally like the best in change of direction. But he's not bad. It's not bad, but when you're undersized, you kind of hope for a bit better than that. And I feel like you kind of see that in coverage. You kind of see that along with his hesitations. You see his inability to get moving in the opposite direction quickly. Isn't always consistent when taking on blocks, especially if it's guys much bigger than him. I said he likes playing with that physicality, but I mean, hey, at 220, there's only so much you can do. He's also, last season, was an inconsistent finisher with 20% missed tackle rate. So we look at him as a potential breakout candidate just because athletically, physically, it's kind of there. Maybe put on 10, 15 pounds of muscle, and we could get going here. Like, I have him as a 6 just simply because of that, but the injuries are a big concern. Hopefully he can stay healthy this season, so we'll go ahead and see. But yeah, just a raw deal for a former 5-star recruit. He also played running back in high school, so that's kind of cool. All right, next here we got Jordan BURCH, Currently at Oregon, but was formerly of South Carolina. As I just pull up his stuff here, 6'6", 275. So a very, very intriguing size profile there. You kind of look at him and look how he plays, and he kind of just screams 5 tech, 3-4 edge player. He's a former 5-star recruit from the 2020 class. And you might be like, why is this cat a potential breakout candidate? Like, he had 40 pressures last season, 2 sacks, 66 tackles. That's good production. And he's doing it in the SEC. Like, how is he a potential breakout candidate? And it's like, I think for him, it's like, it really depends on how and where he plays at Oregon. I'm kind of curious if he kicks more interior, or if they stick him, keep him outside, because I don't think he has the most impressive first step. Like, his get off is definitely the get off of a bigger guy, which he is. And at South Carolina, it seemed like he was very playing the run first a ton. I don't know, and for a guy that's a bigger edge player, he doesn't really play with the type of violence that you'd really want to see. Like, he doesn't really throw jabs or strikes. He just kind of tries to use lock up and use that upper body strength to kind of overwhelm blockers. So I'm kind of curious, him going to Dan Lannon, how much of this guy's potential can he tap into? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, I look at his stuff and I'm like, I feel like he's early day 3. But he could definitely emerge much bigger than we could be talking about day 2, depending on how freaky he gets. Maybe he sneaks into that first round, because like, the dude's got a good frame, great length. He combines that with I think he accelerates well. I just don't think he consistently gets off the line of scrimmage well. This is a dude that plays with a big motor. He's willing to pursue and chase down ball carriers. He's very stout versus the run. And again, in South Carolina, I kind of felt like they asked him to play run first, but he does a good job of either filling gaps or just containing the edge, setting the edge. And he's really hard to move, and he honestly can stack and shed with relative ease. Like, his closing speed just shuts down the possibility of big plays. Does a good job of keeping his pads clean and all together, but it's just like, I know that there's more there. There's more on the bone, and I really can't wait to see it. I think why he transfers, like, he started all 13 games last year, so like, it's got to be the allure of Dan Lannon, right? It really does. Also, that might be a really good team there in the Pac-12, RIP Pac-12. Regardless, though, I think he was a good name to bring up, and he's actually one of the bigger producers on this list in terms of production. All right, next I have Sadeo Toure, currently at Mississippi State. This one's going to be a little interesting because I don't think he's gotten a ruling yet to see if he's eligible to play this year, because technically he's transferred multiple times, and like, I think it's after the second time. After the second time you transfer, you gotta potentially sit for a season, and we just haven't heard word on that yet. He's practicing, but we just haven't heard word on that. I list him as a slot. He was kind of a tight end at Arkansas State, but regardless, former 3-star recruit from the 2021 class, played at Clearwater Academy International. It's a school that's a school where they got a lot of good college recruits. Let's just say that. Former standout soccer player, soccer goalie from London, and didn't start playing football till his senior year. So that's kind of wild. So he didn't really become the starter for Arkansas State till 2022, where he started the final 10 games, made first team all Sun Belt, and came up with over 600 yards, 4 tutties, decided to make the transfer. But at 6'4", 223, you kind of looking at that, it's like, that's a little light for tight end. Like, kind of curious if he makes a transition to receiver. And I almost feel like the decision to go to Mississippi State kind of solidifies that decision. So I said initially he might be eligible, and it's because he initially was at Colorado. He decided to make the jump to Colorado, but after about a month, he decided to re-enter the transfer portal. Decided the Bulldogs real late in the process, and yeah. So, and if you've heard that he's eligible to play this year, cool. I haven't seen it yet. So yeah, if you got a link to it, hit it up in the comment section. But the dude is a physical player with the ball in his hands. Like, he shows good balance on contact. He goes from like pass catcher to ball carrier real quick. Like, he's just built different. He is an incredible athlete at his size, a very dynamic weapon. He gets to top speed extremely quickly out in space. He's got just legit burners, strong hands, and great hand-eye coordination as well. He tracks the ball extremely well downfield. I mean, you can just look at the stats from last year: 62.5% on contested catches, only one drop. See, the thing is, though, he lined up 78. He technically did line up. He technically lined up in line about 78% of the time for Arkansas State, right? But he kind of functioned, if you watch the tape, he kind of functioned more like a slot receiver. He was constantly getting free releases. And I don't think as an inline blocker, he has the girthiness to be a run blocker there. Like, I think it translates better to the slot. And for Arkansas State, kind of ran a very simplistic route tree. But I really like his potential as a physical wide receiver or a big slot. Definitely someone to watch out for. Maybe if he plays, we'll see. Stupid young too. Stupid young. All right, next on the list, we're going to the offensive line with Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. And he is a bit of a projection at this point because he started like the last few games of the season. He had to start a few early games because of injuries to Wanya Morris or something. I can't remember, but he had one start at left tackle, 4 starts at right tackle. He was formerly of TCU, redshirted his first season there. Only saw like 63 snaps in 2021, so he was like, yeah, I'm gonna jet it out here. Dude's a former 3-star recruit. And it's kind of wild because he primarily played the defense on the defensive line his senior year, but he was widely considered a offensive line recruit. So a little interesting, little intrigue there, but coming in at 6'6", 319. I think he carries his weight exceptionally well. Like, I think he looks extremely fit. He moves very good for a 320-pounder. Like, you see the foot quickness to match quicker edge players. He moves laterally, or when he's going to like climb vertically, he moves very well to the second level. He shows good flexibility, sinks well when he wants to. We'll kind of get to that in a minute, but for him right now, it's just like the production, not even the production, the playing time isn't there yet with really only 5 starts to his name. Like, having a full season could go a long way for him. Like, I think he's shown good versatility. He's played both on the left and the right side. So you like that. You like it a lot. And especially how he played last season. While not saying it's like, oh, it was elite, it was amazing. He played well enough for a guy who not only primarily played defense in high school, but someone who saw like less than 100 snaps prior to this pass till 2022. So I think that's really good. I think it's a good sign of things. I will say he doesn't pack a lot of power though in his punch. And I don't think it's because he's weak. Like, he just doesn't demonstrate strength at the point of attack, like, or at least overwhelming strength at the point of attack. Like, I wish he was more active with his hands. I feel like he just kind of locks up, and that's about it. He doesn't consistently sink low and occasionally will play with high pads, which leads to leverage problems, obviously. And honestly, I think maybe with more time and more experience, all that'll kind of get polished up. So he's definitely someone to watch for. He made Dane Brugler's like, I think, what was it, top seniors or top underclassmen for the tackle position? I can't remember, but that's where I got the name from. That, and Alex from Hail Mary Sports was like, hey, my buddy said I should check out this guy. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Dane Brugler said I should check out this guy. Not him personally, but I look at his article and I'm like, okay, name, production. Ooh, maybe we should check out this guy. That's how I got to him. That's how I got there. All right, next on the list here. This one's courtesy of Jim Nagy. Steve Linton out of Texas Tech. To be fair, hasn't played a snap for Texas Tech quite just yet. Played 4 seasons. Was it 4 seasons? I think it was 4 seasons over at Syracuse before transferring. But he was former 3-star recruit out of Georgia. Went to Syracuse. Redshirt. Oh, it was 5 years? No, it wasn't 5 years. It was 4 years. Okay. He redshirted his freshman season. And then in 2020, he played in 8 games. Only 1 start, but this one was at linebacker. And note it, because he played a variety of different spots on the defensive front. 6'5" right now, 235. So in 2021, he missed 4 games after he was recovering from off-season knee surgery. But he did play in the next 7 games, and I think he mainly played as an edge. And then in 2022, he played in 11 games with only 1 start. And this was more so he was playing now kind of like 3 tech, 2 tech, occasionally kicking outside. Like, he played legitimately everywhere for Syracuse on their very interesting like mug fronts and whatnot. Now he transfers to Texas Tech, and not only is Jim Nagy raving about him, you got Texas Tech raving about him, coaches there. Like, oh man, this is exactly what we needed after losing a guy of the caliber of Tyree Wilson. And you might be like, well, this dude's sub 240. How can he replace a guy that girthy? Because what? Tyree Wilson was like 6'6", 6'7", like 270. Well, it's kind of wild because coming into college and high school, he, like, as a recruit, he was sub 200 pounds. He was 196 before he arrived at Syracuse. So it's not surprising that he's like a twitched up, really good athlete. He also brings good length at 34-inch arms. However, he plays so much stronger than his actual size. He's kind of aided by playing with really good low leverage, and he just brings that intensity, that violence to the point of attack. He's able to hold the ground so well that like legitimately Syracuse threw this guy into the B gap, and he held up. Like, he's a very disciplined, very solid run defender. Very explosive first step, flashes terrifying closing speed, and he flashed great ability as a run stopper, as I kind of previously mentioned. You see that 14 defensive stops. Those are stops that either result in no gain or negative gains, and he did this on only 132 run defense snaps. But I put a 5th round grade on him because it's like I feel like we kind of gotta like caution ourselves into this because the sample size is exceptionally small. Like, this guy played all of what, like maybe 600 snaps his whole career there at Syracuse. So let's just kind of wait for a second and see what this year unfolds. Though it's very promising. Texas Tech's actually got really solid players there on the defensive front. While I said he does play strong, he is still light for the position, and that's kind of reflected in his missed tackle rate of 23.1% over his career. So you want to see that get cleaned up, especially when you have that length. You want to wrap up consistently. And I do think, like, he's a twitched up athlete, he's fast, but I think it's more straight line speed than actually being like super flexible, super bendy. Like, I think ideally, like, it's wild that he was used at like in the at 3 tech and stuff, that he should probably line up at 9 tech. I think that's like ideally this guy's a like a Y9 alignment edge rusher, and I feel like his win rate last year really, like his pass rush win rate really struggled because of he was kicked on the interior at 235 pounds all the time. He only had about a 12% win rate, 11.8. So I feel like that was kind of muddy. Now if they get him playing more consistently outside or even maybe just 4 inside tech sometimes, I expect the production to look good. Like, again, Jim Nagy, really high on this guy. Been hearing a lot of good things. Went on the field at Syracuse because it was kind of fun. I had to go back to watch him. I had to watch Mikel Jones tape, and I forgot how much I liked Mikel Jones. But I think I have only one more guy on the list here for y'all, and it is BRADYN SWINSON out of LSU. And you're looking at that Oregon jersey, aren't you? Yeah, that's right. He's formerly of Oregon, coming in at 6'4", 249, was a former 3-star recruit, and he was mainly a reserve his freshman season for Oregon. He played 11 games in 2021. He made his first and only start against Ohio State, but he tore his MCL in that game. And to be fair, very impressive game from him. I think I reference it later on here. But he only missed 3 games with a minor scope surgery. So like tore the MCL, but he was able to return because of this. So maybe after the season you further get it taken care of. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. He played in all 12 games, no starts in 2022, decided to transfer, as you could tell, only 10 pressures, 5 defensive stops. But he was a hot name last offseason in terms of people like, hey, this is the cat to watch out for. You saw what he did to Ohio State. Like, it was a darn good game. He had a pressure, a sack, a pass breakup. He was doing this playing through a torn ACL. It was just impressive. However, that's kind of been the tail of his career. He's J.R. Smith. He's very streaky. He to be fair, he's more cold than hot. Are you hot? Are you cold? Yeah, I'm not a Katy Perry guy. But yeah, he runs more cold than hot. But he does boast some great length, great bend, very versatile, as he's played at 270 pounds earlier in his career, and now he's obviously cut down to the 249. I think in 2022 he was playing at 245. Plays with very active hands, shows good twitch on stunts, plays low, gets good inside and outside leverage, and he played a bit of coverage for the Ducks, and he has kind of the length to, you know, clog passing lanes. It's just, again, not seeing it, hasn't really been given the opportunity for us to see it. And again, man, I hope potentially for LSU kind of breaks out. Maybe, and you'll be like, oh, they got some players on that defensive line. Yeah, they do. But I mean, to be fair, Mason Smith, I'm kind of curious, do they just kick him inside full time? Because I feel like they should. If I'm Swinson, though, I think if he put on, like, he's real lean. Like, I wanted to see him put on more mass, more muscle to his frame. Because there are times where, like, he just lacks that physicality and he kind of gets tossed by running backs of all people. But Swinson could be an interesting name to watch out for here. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.